So I just wanted to say something really quick.
Don't drop everything on the table, though, while
Sorry.
you do it.
The creative and the differences. True creative, two differences.
Oh my God. That's why you wanted
The creative and the differences 3.
All right.
Tokyo Drift.
Okay.
Creative and differences.
Right.
Creative 5. Creative and differences 6.
Oh my God.
Creative 7. And also the fate of the differences.
Goodness gracious.
Just to point out how dumb the titles to these movies are.
Shouldn't the 7th one be different 7?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh,
'Cause it's
sorry.
Furious
Different 7. Difference is 7. Whoops. See?
Listen. At least
These
they're
movie
actually
titles
trying
are
to be
dumb.
creative with their titles.
Are they?
They are.
I mean-
They are insistent of putting the number in the title.
I would say
Fair.
they were being creative until the 4th one because Fast and Furious.
That
is
one was the one
lazy.
that was not creative.
Yeah, but like
Tokyo Drift.
Too Fast, Too Furious actually I like that. It's cute.
fire.
It's cute.
It's too fast, you too
Fast
furious.
and Furious.
It
Tokyo
appealed
Drift.
exactly to our demographic
Also that-
too. Also, before we get going, welcome to the Creative Differences podcast.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
Gabby.
I'm Dallas.
Hey guys, it's Demi and I'm taking over for Colin today.
Yeah, and this is our Throwback Thursday episode where we watched
Furious
7.
It is Furious 7.
Vroom vroom.
The 7th installment of the Fast and Furious series because Hobbs and Shaw is coming in, and I think this is like the first appearance of the two on screen together.
This is the first appearance of Shaw and the first
Yes.
appearance of Hobbs and Shaw together. Yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's why that's why I chose that one because
Yeah,
I'm
you
the
chose
Fast
that
and
one.
Furious fan.
Yeah,
So,
she's in charge of our Fast and Furious research.
anything.
Yep.
All right, so let's start this off. Is this your first time watching it or do you remember your first time watching it? I think it's both of your first times watching
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is my first time watching this.
I
because
watched
I had
it.
to watch this.
I watched it with Demi a couple days ago.
I was not happy about having to see this.
I mean, you could have opted out like Colin did.
No, I wasn't going to do that to you guys.
Yeah, you hear that, Colin? You
But
were out.
also, like, we can't like every movie that we watch. We have to have.
That's
you
fair.
know,
That's true.
That is fair.
That'd be boring.
And I'm willing to put
We're just
my
very positive.
happiness
Very
on the line
optimistic.
for you guys.
All right, so this was you guys' first time watching it. My first time watching it was actually in the theaters when it came out, the Thursday night it came out.
Of course.
And
that
I
was
cried.
2015?
Yes.
Of course you cried because
Oh,
the
I
end
did.
was
Yeah.
really.
I almost cried again watching it with Dallas. Like, I was like, it's been years and I still am not over this.
Yeah,
I
it's
l-
tragic.
I love that ending. It's just such a good send-off.
It's
It
very
was a good
heartfelt
ending.
and emotional.
I was like, I respected how well they did that.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie, however, was ridiculous.
But that's what you come to a Fast and Furious movie for.
Yes, even though let me preface this with I hate the Fast and the Furious movies. But what I realized while
But
watching
she wants
this,
to see Hobbs and Shaw.
I actually do because it looks fun. Well, okay, here, let me preface. let me finish explaining myself.
Go
The
ahead.
reason I hate the movies, I think, is because
Capitalism.
a little bit. But it was more like I was like young and idealistic about movies for a minute there, and I only wanted good movies to come out. And like I think it was like the reason I was super upset at that time was people were still going to the theaters consistently, and these really crappy movies were just being like funneled out, and movies that were just sequels, and they weren't even good sequels. So I felt like companies were like exploiting their audiences. They were just churning out crap, expecting people to like it. And then what I realized later realized watching this movie is what the Fast and the Furious has become is what their audience wants. So like people are getting exactly what they want from these movies and they're having a great time. So that's a good thing. 2, I realized that the cast really, really likes each other and it's a genuinely positive experience for them.
Yeah.
For the most
For
part.
the most part.
Yeah.
Until recently.
When drama isn't coming out. Yeah.
But like the Fast and the Furious and also Transformers were like the epitome of, to me in my head, exploiting your audience and only churning out sequels because you knew that it was a shoo-in as opposed to wanting to put out a great product. I realize it's probably more true for Transformers than it is for Fast and the Furious because Fast and the Furious is giving its audience what it wants.
It's the Fast and Furious movies are all about giving their audience what they want and always trying to be better at what they're doing.
Yeah. So I realized that. And then I also realized that like there's nothing that you can do about corporate greed, really.
No, there's
and
not.
I'm not going to take it out on the Fast and the Furious.
That's
but
nice
I still
to know.
hate these movies.
Not because of the movies themselves.
No, and like no, not because of the movies themselves. It's like this dumb little idea that got in my head when I was younger, and
idealistic. I'm curious as to when that was. That was because the Fast and Furious movies are nearly 20 years old at this point.
No, I know. I think it was like, here's the thing: is my taste in movies was probably crap for a really long time, and then I started watching less like mainstreamy movies when I was in college, and I really started going out and seeing artsy stuff.
So that's like after the fourth movie came out.
No, because I saw the fourth movie and I was like, this is not for me. Why did they do this?
So that we could get the fifth movie. No, that's not true, actually.
Yeah, I saw that. And like, to be honest, I went to see the fourth movie because my cousins were like, hey, come with us. And it was on a Sunday. And if I went with them, I didn't have to go to church. I will go to this movie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, heathen.
You are a heathen.
So let's get into...
I just didn't want to go.
Let's get into breaking down this particular Fast and Furious. Furious 7... God, okay, I gotta summarize this movie. Furious 7 follows the Fast and Furious crew as Deckard Shaw tries to take vengeance on them for what they did to his brother in the previous movie. Yeah. And as they do that, a government agency enlists them to find a hacker and her technology called God's Eye, which can track anybody in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the story of this movie.
It's basically like Lucius's machine in Batman.
Kind of,
but like... better
and made by Natalie Emmanuel.
Yeah, I can't hate on any. Yeah, we'll just keep going.
I wouldn't say it's a complicated story at all.
Except I would say it becomes ridiculously complicated.
I would say
eventually.
That I would say that a lot happens, but I wouldn't say it's complicated.
There's just a lot of things going on.
Yeah,
I don't think it's complicated.
A lot of points in time.
I think it's a story in which you kind of have an A story and a B story, but not really, because they're both kind of A stories.
They're intertwining and they're happening at the same time.
And neither of them is really any less significant, because you think about like the main antagonist is Shaw, but the reason he wants to get them, but also they want to get him. And
Shaw also wants to get God's Eye. And
Shaw doesn't care
he doesn't.
God's Eye.
He doesn't, but he was using it.
Jaimin Hansu wants God's Eye.
Who's that? Or not who's that? He was separate from Shaw?
Yeah.
What is going on? Yeah.
So
they team up at the end because they were after basically.
So the second story makes it even more complicated, because then Kurt Russell comes in and he's like, you want to find this guy. You do this entirely separate movie, and we can help you find him.
See, as much as I love that movie, and this is why this movie is my 6th favorite out of all of the Fast and Furious. I'm also including the Fast and Furious short films that they've made.
Oh my God, there are more Fast and Furious.
Vin Diesel made his directorial debut, I think, doing a short film called Los Bandolores.
Los Bandoleros.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't say it. Usually I can, but I couldn't say it.
There's a song.
Yeah, but he made a short film. And it was about what happens before the 4th movie. But it's like the whole team is going after God's Eye because they want to use God's Eye to find Jason Statham.
Yeah.
But Jason Statham literally finds them wherever they go.
That's the most annoying part of the story for me. Because I'm like, look, you guys can stop. He's right there. You found him. You don't need to continue the mission.
Yeah.
Like, he's interrupting their mission.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, wait, no,
But we have to continue the mission.
We gotta like, no, you don't
have to continue.
He's here. You found him. Kill him.
That's the biggest flaw of that movie for me. Is I'm just like, you guys don't have to, because
the biggest flaw. No, I'm just kidding.
That's the biggest flaw to me, because I was in the theater and most people were like, "This is the best Fast and Furious movie," and I'm like, "It's really not," because like.
It's not.
Jason
Literally,
Statham
people say that because of the end, and also rest in peace, Paul Walker.
It is the best ending of the Fast and Furious franchise, but like it's not the best Fast and Furious.
I was watching this movie, I was like, why is everybody super into this movie?
Because it's fun.
And then I saw the end, and I was like, that's why.
Because it's fun, and the ending is perfect. It is the most. Perfect
it was a well done ending.
I will give it that every time. Every time.
I was writing a bunch of bitter ass notes while I was.
It's been like 4 years, and I still almost cry every time we get to the ending, because that montage is so well done.
Actually, in the middle, it gets a little bit positive.
What the?
No, that's unexpected from you.
So let's jump into. We talked about the story.
Kind of.
No,
we covered the story.
We can jump into the characters, most of which who have been a part of this franchise for the last. Like I said, almost 20 years.
They killed my favorite character in the first movie, and I can't forgive them for it. I'm just kidding.
Jesse?
The ADHD guy.
Yeah, Jesse.
I think my problem is also these movies started out with like a genuinely really good movie. Like, I would say a film.
It's Point Break, but with...
I'm joking.
It's Point Break,
but like it was...
with
racing. Like cars. It was really, really good.
Here's the thing that
now it's just like... we're parachuting cars out of planes.
Well, see, here's the thing that I respect about Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious saw that the movie landscape was changing. What audiences wanted was changing. And being a gearhead wasn't popular anymore. So you couldn't just do movies that are just about street racing. That couldn't be your surface level story. Because
that's fair.
And at its heart, Fast and Furious movies have always been heist movies. No matter which one you're watching, something except for maybe the third one, everybody's always trying to steal something.
I love the third one.
Everybody's always trying to steal something. I
actually really like the third one,
and I hate the third one because it does not fit this.
No,
this
it
series
doesn't.
Of movies.
The third one's like a.
Which is funny because Gaby hates the series and you love it, so it makes sense that she would like the one
that is not any
wildly different.
And I'm somewhere in the middle, and I'm kind of in the middle on the third one too, because it's like this one is, as far as like excitement, probably the least exciting of them, but it feels grounded in like.
Which is weird because they're drifting.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's more of like a character story about like being an outsider and da. And it's like I can actually get behind this story.
That's what the first one
kind of the characters.
And also, I don't think Tokyo Drift and think Fast and the Furious.
You brought up how they killed your favorite character in the first
ever movie.
They killed my favorite character like 3 times because he dies in 3, and then I think in 6 he dies in the mid-credits, and then in 7 he dies again. And I'm like, look, stop killing Han.
Well, it was funny.
Han was also one of my favorites. They just killed my favorite.
Well, they did it in 6 because they were retconning 3.
Yeah.
Right.
They were like trying to place it in the timeline.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It gives it more context, but at the same time, you actually don't need to watch 3 in order to understand.
No, you don't need to watch it.
Which is why I love 6, because I was like, listen, we don't ever have to watch 3 again.
Here's the thing is I love 3. Like, if you had to be like Gaby, pick a Fast and the Furious movie that you actually like, it's the third one.
That's awful.
And you know what part of it is I'm really attracted to Lucas Black, and there's very limited.
He was such a god-awful actor.
I love him. Don't say that.
He's so stiff.
That
was probably part of the reason I didn't like 3.
Like a stiff white Southern boy. Like he's, I don't know. Just like I have a lot of respect for him because he's been told over and over again that he needs to get rid of his really like heavy accent.
He can keep the accent. Just stop being stiff.
I just dig him. He's very.
Anyway, about the characters in 7.
7, yes.
Which is our usual cast of characters with Dom, Letty, Brian.
Yes.
Mia plays a small role. I love Mia. And then we have Tej and I don't know what Roman.
Roman, yes.
And we also have
we need to talk about
Luke
Roman.
Hobbs. And we are introduced to Ramsey, who is one of my new favorite characters in the series.
I love her.
I love Ramsey, and it helps that it's Natalie Emmanuel.
She was adorable.
I love her.
It's mostly because it's Natalie Emmanuel that I'm excited about this.
She's fantastic, and her hair is absolutely goals in that movie. But I've always been a big fan of the characters. The characters are actually part of the reason why I continue to come back to the Fast and Furious movies, because you kind of grow with these characters over 20 years. So watching their stories continue. Yes, 20 years. watching these characters continue to grow and like all the crazy stuff that they get into. Like, it's fun. It's great. And to watch like some of the more personal drama that each goes through, because it's not just action. There is personal drama. These characters do go through things. They have kids. They have family that they are concerned about.
I think my main problem with these movies is it gets to a point where I really can't take it seriously in any capacity.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Which is fine.
So the personal drama doesn't hit for me. Like all those scenes where I'm supposed to take it seriously, I can't really feel it because of the stuff they've established.
Because of the backdrop.
Because of like the ridiculousness they've established otherwise.
Yes.
Like aside from obviously the Paul Walker tribute, but that's like
at the very
outside
end.
from the movie. That's not really because of the movie itself.
And
that's like because of what happened. Yeah. But it's just like when Dom drives off a mountain.
Yes.
And then crashes his car and gets out and is chilling.
And then
and Ramsey gets out because she had a helmet on.
Yeah, and then
and then later on he crashes off like a floor of a parking garage.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody's running over and they're like, damn. And freaking Paul Walker is trying to save him, and Letty's like, no, stop trying to save his life. I'll talk to him. That'll work. And then they have this scene, and I'm like, look, I can't feel anything. He drove off a mountain, and he's fine. He's not hurt.
No.
He's okay.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Or like The Rock, when he you remember in Captain America's Winter Soldier, where he's like, I have nowhere to go. Let me kick out this elevator and just fall. That was The Rock, and he's just supposed to be a normal person in this movie.
That's also my problem is like, it's the kind of movie that if it were a comic book or a video game or something,
it would be
like some kind of established
super
real
blunt.
world rules don't matter so much, I'd be like, cool.
I think, yeah.
And
But that's where the franchise has reached. It is an original content thing that has reached the point where it's almost on par with being a superhero.
But that's my problem, because
it
like
started
the
off
physics
as a
and stuff
normal
are supposed
ass,
to
or,
be
like,
real.
They're supposed to, yeah, that's
Are
the
they?
thing.
Yeah, they are, because when you see the trailer for Hobbs and Shaw and Idris Elba shows up and it's actually genetically enhanced, I'm like, okay, so you're telling me by comparison, the rest of these people are supposed to be normal humans.
Yeah, exactly.
He is the next step of what this franchise has always wanted these characters to be. He's the
Superheroes.
superhuman. Like,
See,
They're-
if they were all like this, I'd be like, cool. But,
But
like,
here's the thing.
they're regular dudes.
Once again, another thing that I respect about this series is that it built to this level. It wasn't suddenly this level. It built to it with every movie, and it continues to do that with every movie. I was in a writing class. I was the classroom assistant, and the guy who was teaching, he named off some crazy car stunt or whatever. He was like, if this were to happen in a John Wick movie, I wouldn't believe it. And I went, but if it happened in a Fast and Furious movie, would you believe that it was possible? He was like, yes, I could suspend my disbelief because the Fast and Furious movies have created a world where this can happen. This is a possibility. We built it to be this way, so this is how it works.
See, that's my problem,
know,
is because
but,
like
like-
it's not. I think maybe if they started this way, we've established like, okay, cool, this is the world we're in. But like, we started in a world that was completely grounded in reality.
Yeah.
And now,
Like with like a
Physics
low
just
key,
don't matter.
just like
So
an
it's like,
indie, like a summer indie
first
style
four-
film.
don't do the things that they started to do in 5.
That's
Yeah.
not four.
There's
Four kind of
cinematography
starts
in
Four
the
when they
first
started it?
Four kind of starts it up. 4 is where they start ramping it up.
This is what happened.
Which one is the one where they drag the safe behind the car? That's 5.
That's
right?
5.
What did they do in 4 that was on this level?
4 was like they were
4 was
driving
like-
through small tunnels and they were using
Yeah.
like
It
electronics
was-
that don't exist.
Here's
Okay.
Here's the thing. Demi has seen all these movies and she's kept up with them
Multiple times
so
over.
Exactly. So the world is established for her. You and I have seen the first 2.
I've seen everything except 6.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
So I don't understand why you don't understand her perspective. Because like my perspective is like, I've seen the first 3. Those are grounded in reality. And now we're parachuting cars off of planes. And this series is dumb right now.
So here's the thing. That's how I felt when I saw 5. I just haven't stopped feeling that way.
Fair.
Because
So it
5 is
didn't
when,
happen
for me, I was
gradually
like,
enough
whoa,
for
this
you.
is crazy. But also,
4 was like... 4 was like when Vin Diesel came back, and
That's
he's like
when
an
everybody
executive producer,
started- yeah.
and like instead of like the Tokyo Drift being where they needed to go, everyone's back. Vin is in charge. They're gonna give the audience just a ridiculous movie, and the way that they're gonna tie everything together is there's always gonna be cars.
And people actually
Yeah.
got mad about 4 because there were more CGI cars in it than there were practical effects. So that's when
And
that's
so
why
that's when they
5,
started
6, 7, and
doing
8
more
do
practical.
crazy practical car effects because 4,
people were like, we know you're not using real cars.
yeah.
and I think maybe part of it is like,
Well, but that was part of the appeal. It's like you got to see these really cool cars that
got
you
to see
wouldn't
these-
normally see.
Here's the thing, like we all like John Wick at differing degrees. Fast and Furious to me is what John Wick is for fight movies, but for car movies.
That's what
Because
I understood
every set piece-
while I was watching.
Yeah,
this movie.
every movie amps it up.
I was
They
kinda
always try
comparing
and
it to
outdo
John.
themselves.
Yeah.
yeah.
And like it started off with something that
So
was
small.
like really chill. Well,
I don't know if
John
it
Wick
was
was
chill.
different because
They blew up a car.
no, I know. What was I gonna say? It started off with a movie that wasn't intended to become another movie.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So the world was really small and limited.
And the same thing with the
about
first
John
one.
Wick is like, first of all, John Wick was made in a world where if the movie does well enough, we're gonna give you a sequel regardless. So they made a world.
They made it in the climate of making sequels all the time.
Exactly.
Whereas Fast and
Whereas
Furious
Fast and
wasn't
Furious-
made in a time where we were making sequels all the time.
Exactly.
And Fast and Furious has now evolved into a series where we can do that.
We're gonna have the sequels as long as everybody wants to keep doing this. We're gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, and also 2 is also actually kind of insane because they drive off a cliffside onto a boat out in the water.
Yeah.
Like Fast
But
and
that
Furious.
was back when cars would do. I don't know.
No,
it
you
wasn't-
can't do that.
No, I meant like in movies that wasn't like a crazy thing to have a car do. Like do like a big jump like that.
But that jump
it was
is,
ridiculous, but it wasn't like out of the ordinary. It wasn't cars like
were-
parachuting off of a plane.
They were
to
doing
me.
Dukes of Hazzard stuff. Now. Oh no! But
And yeah,
yeah,
it's like
but, Fast
cars
and
do-
Fast and Furious has earned the right to
No.
do stuff like that.
What I'm saying is, in terms of their world building, this isn't wild, or like it's. I'm gonna give that to you, but I hate these movies.
I think my issue isn't that they do this stuff, because that's what you go there for.
Yeah.
You go there for the
absolutely.
crazy cars, you go there for attractive
Yeah.
people, and you go there for nonsense. The problem is you've taken out any semblance of me taking the movie seriously. So when you want
Yeah.
me to, I can't switch back.
That's
Like,
I get that. Or
I can
I'm
switch
gonna
back
need some better
sometimes,
writing if you're
depending
gonna
on-
do it.
Yeah,
because the
I can't-
writing in
But I
this
think-
is very
and-
stiff and it's very general. And I'm like, a mark of a good movie is even if I'm not really interested, if there's character moments that are meant to pull at my heartstrings, because I am super like what is it? It's not gullible, but
She's sensitive.
I'm super susceptible to that stuff.
She's sensitive.
I'm going to feel it. I
Right.
did not feel that
See,
in this, and I
Same.
think it's because of the dialogue. The dialogue's very bad.
I feel like you guys are also outside of this realm as well.
A little bit, because I don't
somebody
feel
like
the weight
me-
of these characters.
And I do, though.
Yeah.
Like, these are characters that I'm actually attached to, and I
Yeah.
care about what happens to them. When Letty dies in the 4th movie, I was heartbroken.
Oh,
because,
I was mad because she was my second favorite.
Yeah, because I was like...
I was like, fuck these
They
movies.
kill
I was
all your
like-
favorite people.
Yeah, they kill all my favorites.
But, I mean,
That used to be a thing.
because she was working on Avatar at the time. But
No, I know, but what
I
I'm
was
saying
yeah,
is...
I was a Letty and Dom fan.
I was also mad.
That broke my heart in the 4th movie when they were like, Letty's dead. I was like, I love her, and I love her and Dom together. And then when they got Dom together with Chris Hemsworth's wife, I was like, no, Letty. Like, Letty is the love of his life. I don't want to see him with anybody but Letty. And at the end of that movie, there was the mid-credit scene where Eva Mendes came back and was like, hey, do you
She
believe
did.
in ghosts? And Letty, and it was like, Letty's coming back.
That was the end of
And
4, right?
That was the end of 5.
That was the end of 5?
Yes.
Yeah, she wasn't in
gracious.
five.
Because
All
6
over
is
the
when
place.
they go to get Letty.
Right, okay.
And I just remember feeling this sense of like,
She's back.
yes, it was like I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, they're bringing Letty back.
Yay.
And then like you start 6, and 6 has it starts with that montage recap of like the entire series before they go off
Of
to get Letty
course.
to
Okay.
complete
Yeah.
their family.
Here's my
And I
thing,
love
though,
it.
is that was a big event. I'm talking about like just a random
But
emotional
that's-
beat in
but
this.
literally 6, that whole movie 6 is about getting Letty back, and like that's emotional for anybody who is
No,
a
I
huge
know,
Fast and
but
Furious fan.
I'm just
Even
talking
7,
about-
her not realizing that she's been married to him this entire time.
Oh,
For every
see?
Fast and Furious fan who didn't realize that none of us knew that they were married until you get to the end of 7.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for people who watch Fast and
No,
Furious
it
and have been
is.
going with the series.
Also, their wedding
hit hard.
Him in all white, I was dying.
But yeah,
I was laughing.
yeah. But like, also, I think Furious 7 more than any other movie has a lot of callbacks to the original movie.
It does.
Which
Well,
I-
not the original.
No, the
'Cause
original.
I've seen the
they bring back
original.
Race Wars. They bring back
True.
Hector during Race Wars. They show the original house blowing up, which is a big deal to
Oh,
anybody
that's
who's
true.
a Fast and Furious fan.
I remember that. That was the house.
I think this is the first time Dom calls Brian Buster since the first movie.
Damn. that was a long
The
ass
grappling,
time ago.
the grappling hook thing while they're doing the first thing to save Ramsey that Letty and
you're
Dom
right.
do.
Fine, I'll
That's
give it
like a
to you.
huge callback to the first movie when they're using grappling hooks,
Yep.
picking up an injured character in the desert by a helicopter. First movie, the tuna sandwich, the whole conversation about the tuna sandwich thing.
I understand that.
That
'cause-
hurt. That was so much stuff that they referenced from the first movie.
Yeah.
And I appreciated
Fine.
that. And I didn't realize that until this last time watching it.
Yeah, that there's a
I
lot
was
of
like,
callbacks.
wow, there's a lot of stuff that's just a reference to like where we came from.
Yeah.
Because every movie kind of pays homage to the first movie by having at least one street race
'cause
in
they
it.
have to.
But this one really paid homage to
They
the first
really
one
should.
Yeah.
in saying goodbye to Paul.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful in those aspects. And that's why it's emotional for me.
I think part of the reason I can't take scenes like that seriously is because like Vin Diesel has 3 emotional ranges. He's
he
talking.
doesn't.
Come on, if he's not playing a tree, in these movies he's
He's
low
like, I know
grumbling,
he's supposed to be the
or he
Dumbledore of the
smiles.
series.
or his eyes get
He's
wide.
supposed to be like
if
the
things get really
godlike
intense.
figure of the series, but
Of what?
He's not doing. What
the
are you,
godlike figure, like you
Oh.
know, Aslan or Dumbledore. Like, so there isn't much.
I guess.
like you can't really see
I don't think
him
that's
be
a
too
fair-
human.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
He's-
a fair
he's the
analysis
alpha.
because he's
Yeah.
the main guy.
Yeah.
Like
Him and-
Dumbledore
him
and
and
Aslan are the ones that the hero goes to when they need help, but they're not like right alongside them fighting.
I
like-
guess maybe it's because I watched the first like 2. I'm still seeing Paul Walker as the main character when
I mean,
it's
Paul
Vin
Walker-
Diesel
That's
now.
fair.
It is now, but like Paul
Yeah.
Walker was still the co-headliner with him until 7.
But yeah, 7 they really shifted it to Vin, but
I think-
I get why because they had to go back and like really.
Yeah,
make-
you had to rewrite it
Yeah.
so that it's going off of that though. I want to talk about the visuals of the movie because it was also really interesting to watch 7 and be like, which parts are Paul and which ones are not.
Oh right.
What?
Yeah.
Well, I know
because
the end is not.
Half of the movie is shot with his brothers.
Are you serious?
The scene with where the house blows up, I don't think that's Paul.
That's not Paul?
Almost every scene with his wife is not Paul.
What?
It's like
I thought it was like just the end.
no, most of the like half that movie isn't Paul.
I'm impressed. Well, why didn't they just have his brothers be him?
Well, his brothers were him. They just changed the face.
No, I meant for the rest of forever.
Oh no, they don't look that much like him.
I don't know.
And that's a lot of
maybe
that's
it
a
was
lot
going to
of
be
work.
expensive. Yeah, I guess, but like, damn, like if you wanted to keep that character, you could with his brothers.
But also, it's a lot more noticeable in the last scene.
In
I'm
the
not
last
sure
scene,
why.
it is.
Scene,
I think
yes.
it's because it. Maybe they used his brothers more for
I
like
think-
super actiony scenes.
They used
And that's
his,
the thing is, like, if you're going to keep them in the franchise, not all the scenes are going to be like that. You're going to have scenes where
Exactly.
they're just sitting there, like in the last one. It's like, that's a lot more
but the
noticeable.
Yeah.
thing is, there are a lot of
Or
scenes where they're
maybe-
sitting there, and that's not Paul. Like
or
like I
maybe
said, the scene in the
it just
garage
was the way
isn't
that they.
Paul.
Maybe it was
So, like, the
because it
last
was
one
supposed
was
to be
just
in a
like-
car.
But
I don't know.
I think that scene is also they took footage from a previous Fast and Furious film and they just
Oh.
inserted it into that. Final
Oh, okay.
scene.
So
Unlike
that might
the rest
also
of the
be,
scenes where,
which is like a live person reacting to what's going on right now.
Yeah, and I think
which is
they're
why
just-
it doesn't quite fit because your brain is like he's not reacting to,
yeah, but
or
I
he's not
also-
looking quite in the right direction.
Yeah, you could probably like figure out which Fast and Furious movie they took that clip from and dropped it in.
I think that also what made me not like this series, but I've since changed my mind because I was like, how is your main character gonna die and you're still gonna make more sequels? This isn't very nice of you guys. But then I realized like Paul would have probably just kept making these movies,
That's
and
that's
so
what Vince
that's
said.
why it's cool that they're just kept going.
That's what Vince said. Vince said after they did 7, there was a long discussion as to whether or not they were going to continue the series because the plan was always to do, for him and Paul, the plan was always to do 10.
oh.
And then
Oh.
Paul died, and it was like, do we keep doing this without Paul and continue on his legacy, or do we stop because Paul is no longer here with us?
But it's like Paul would have probably kept doing these movies.
Yeah,
so why
Paul
not
would have.
keep going.
Yeah, Paul would want you to keep going. So keep going until you get to wherever you guys.
Which
feel
is
the
what
end.
I realized, like, as I was watching 7, I was like, why'd they keep... It's probably because this dude would have kept just making movies, so
It's-
why are you going to not keep
Especially
going?
because and as much as I don't like the third movie, that movie was the drifting portion of that movie.
Yeah.
That was Paul's idea. He brought drifting
Cool.
into the series because that's what he really wanted to do in the series. He was like, I want to take it in the drifting direction.
Cool.
But he just wasn't available to do the filming.
Aww.
So he couldn't be in it. So Paul was like a heavy part of the making of these movies, and that's probably why they continued, because it was like I think they said 7 was for Paul, 8 is from Paul.
Family.
And that's why I love the Fast and Furious movies. Yes, family, because we don't just mean it on screen, we
No, I
mean it
know
off
they
screen.
mean it off screen too, which is also why I can't hate on this series too much. Also, it's super diverse, and also
That's
it
why it makes so
panders
much money.
heavily to Latinos, which I dig because we never get pandered to. Like,
You know what?
Never.
You know
and
what?
we go to the movies a lot.
Asa Gonzalez has been talking a lot about that in her interviews for Hobbs and Shaw.
I'm glad because you know what bothers me is like I'm just gonna go on a little soapbox right.
Oh no,
quick.
you're talking about how the Latinx community pays for like half the movie tickets in the entire U.S.
well, at least so white people go to the movies the most, and then after that it's Latinos.
Yeah.
Movie studios are always like, well, we'd put more people of color if like, you know, they showed up to the movies. And like, bitch, I'm showing up to the movies and I'm nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
Like, so that's
Fast
not a
and
fair
Fur-
excuse.
The Fast and Furious movies really do kind of like...
They pander to us and I love it because we never
Their
get pandered
also,
to.
their soundtracks are fire every
They
single
are,
time.
and you know, also like, and they've pandered to us a variety of ways. Like one, the whole family thing, and two, there's always like Latino artists in these movies,
No matter what.
Like Romeo Santos was in this movie, and I know what's his name? I can't remember his name, but he was in Fast 5, and I was like, what? There's reggaetoneros in this? They actively use reggaeton in like the music.
Yeah.
Like.
Also,
I love being pandered to.
I loved Hey Ma, which was by J Balvin, Pitbull, and Camila Cabello.
At the beginning of the movie,
At the
right?
beginning of 8, yeah. I loved that
Oh,
song.
at the 8.
And there's a Spanish version and an English version, and they released the Spanish version first, and I listened to that version for a month before I could get the English version. I don't understand any of these words, but I'm down.
It's fine. It's like me and K-pop. But what I'm saying is, so like I can't hate on these movies too much because they are.
She hates them, but she can't hate on them too hard.
No, I can't
Fair.
have to acknowledge that they're great. Or they're great for their audience because they do
great things.
They do great things. They treat their cast and their audience which is probably, they pander to us because it's probably like a huge amount of Latinos go to these movies, but like they acknowledge that we exist in the world. There's a huge amount of diversity in their casting, and
that's why they make a lot of money, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like people like to see themselves.
It's one of the game changers that has proven that inclusivity is what makes money. Going away from that real quick, the last thing we should discuss is, what are you guys expecting from Hobbs and Shaw? Seeing as their first ever scene in Furious 7 was them beating the crap out of each other, and
here's the
eighth
thing.
one is just them fighting.
From what I've like understood is that Jason Statham's character changed a lot from the 7th movie to the 8th one.
Not really.
Not particularly.
No.
He's just on their side now.
Well, is he doing that Jason Statham thing that he does now where he's kind of comedic?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't at all comedic.
So the reason that this spinoff came about is because of the relationship between him and The Rock in the 8th movie, because their chemistry and the way that they come off as buddy cops who just hate each other.
Yeah.
And that really works, which is what the trailers show off, is really what their relationship was in Fast and Furious 8.
Yeah.
So that's what this movie's going to, at least that's what I think this movie's going to be. And if you want to make a bunch of movies of just these two guys not really getting along and just like hating on each other and being snarky and competing while they're doing jobs to save the world, I'm down.
The reason I'm excited is because they do have such a great chemistry, like you said. And it looks like a lot of fun. And I really like this new Jason Statham where he's just kind of like a belligerent drunk.
He's a douchebag.
Yeah, Englishman. That's ridiculous
fun.
and like hilarious. Remember when he was like the transporter?
Yeah.
And he was like really stiff and like intimidating. And then he did Spy, and apparently that's completely out the window now. Like he doesn't do that anymore.
Now he has comedic chops.
Yeah, exactly. So people are using him for that, which I really dig. I just like watching that on screen. So that's mostly why I'm excited about Hobbs and Shaw, because I want to see funny Jason Statham.
I'm excited
with
about
guns.
Idris Elba being the villain.
And that too.
No, and that too. I'm just excited to see
Idris.
more Hobbs, because Hobbs is my favorite thing about these movies now.
Is it because he's so silly?
He's one, Dwayne Johnson is a treasure, but also Hobbs is most of the ridiculousness in these movies, down to his dialogue. Like, he says dumb lines, but they work. Because he's walking down the street carrying a Gatling gun,
and also,
talking about, woman, I am the cavalry.
Yeah,
and it's like
it's so stupid.
And it's like, look, you give that line to anyone else in the movie, I'm going to hate it. But
no,
he's
but
walking down, he's the, look at him.
He looks like the cavalry.
Yeah, like when he just takes off his cast by extending his arm.
That was so dumb. I think I threw a pillow.
The Rock.
But I threw
That's
a pillow.
Thing.
Like
he can do that.
I was holding a pillow and I threw it. I was like, this
also,
is stupid.
I have to give a shout out to this franchise for giving me the one fight that I have wanted since I was about 10 years old. Because as a kid, I loved Vin Diesel from Triple X, and I knew The Rock was a great wrestler, and all I wanted was Vin Diesel and The Rock to fight. And then they did it in Fast 5 and gave me everything I'd wanted from my childhood. So thank you for that.
Great.
That's another thing I did appreciate from this movie is the scenes with Hobbs fighting.
Yeah.
And there's one where he does what was his signature wrestling move.
Oh, yeah.
And they do like a Dutch tilt when he does it, and he like slams through the table, and I was like, look, just give me this movie. That's
what you're gonna get.
Exactly, and this is why, like,
because the Fast
and
and
that's why
Furious
they're
gives
making
the
it.
audience what they want.
And it's like, excited is a strong word for how I feel about this movie, but I think I'm going to definitely enjoy it because it's
to
just
go see this one.
Take Hobbs and just do that movie.
Yep.
Because
and that's what that's going to be.
Yeah,
and
all the things I like are
who,
him.
The guy who did Atomic Blonde, and he produced John Wick.
Yes, the
David Leitch,
cinematography
right?
in this.
Deadpool 2.
You know what? The
like
cinematography in this is about to be beautiful then. You know what?
I'm super hyped. And then Asa Gonzalez is in it for probably a short amount of time, but I love her.
Who cares? Oh, and then
Vanessa
I just had
Kirby's
one more
in it.
gripe about the Fast and the Furious movies.
Lord.
And it's the way that they use Tyrese. I think they used him completely wrong.
What?
And it bothers the shit out of me.
I'm sorry, how would you use Tyrese?
Yeah.
Have him
the
sing?
way they used him in Too Fast, Too Furious.
No, they use him in a similar way.
No, he's a caricature of what he was in Too Fast, Too Furious.
I can agree with that.
Also,
They've
I
pushed
think
him a
that
little.
Tyrese does serious. I think Tyrese does serious better than he does funny. Like, he's not funny.
Interesting.
He's not funny to me. And
I
I'm
think-
like, why are you
I think
using
Roman's
him
hilarious.
like this?
But it's
no.
For me, it's Roman and Tej together.
Yeah,
that
those
really
two
makes it.
together. But when
That's
he's
the thing.
trying to be
I really
funny
like
on
Tej.
its own,
I love
yes.
Tej.
I think I like
Exasperated,
Roman
though.
as an extension of how much I like Tej. So I like their back and forth.
Yeah.
Roman by himself
Yeah.
is hit or miss. I don't think he's super
I don't think
unfunny,
he's funny.
but I don't think
But the
he's
crazy
hilarious.
thing is, most of his stuff comes from interacting with Tej
Exactly.
anyway.
But
Yeah.
like they're trying to make him like literally in this Natalie Emanuel like breaks everybody down to their essential role. And she looks at him and she's like, Joker. And I'm like, he's not fucking funny.
But he is
like,
though.
he's like that. I'm not taking this seriously, dude. But like I think they're honestly, Tyrese is a resource and they're underutilizing him. I think
That's a new. I've never heard that one said about Tyrese in this movies. But
I've never heard that said about Tyrese in any movie.
I think he's great.
Shout out to Tyrese.
Well, I just remember
Clearly.
he helped carry the second movie. Like
I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of Fast and Furious fans don't like the second movie though. So
whatever, man.
I love that movie. That was the movie that got me into the Fast and Furious franchise because I saw that one before I saw the first one.
Yeah, I saw that one before I saw the first one too.
Yeah, I was like, this one's fun,
And I was
saw
like,
the
this
first
is
one, and
great. But I was
this is
also
cool.
like 11 when it came out, so all they had to do was drive fast cars, and I was gonna be into it.
I got into cars for like 2 seconds because of those
Dude,
movies.
my brother did too. He had all the Hot Wheels for all the Too
I
Fast, Too
wasn't
Furious.
buying anything car related,
Oh,
but I
no,
was like,
Eddie
I was
was.
planning what cars I wanted to get when I finally got old enough to drive.
Oh damn.
Speaking of Hot Wheels, I heard John Singleton say that part of the process for making that movie was they would get Hot Wheels and just see what ridiculous things they could do with it.
Yes, that's amazing.
It was like, yeah, that's foreshadowing for exactly where
What's
this
funny
franchise
is
went.
they used that as foreshadowing
That's basically,
in Furious 7 when the kid is playing in the van and he
Oh
throws the
yeah,
car
Yeah.
and then he goes, "Cars don't fly," and I was like,
And
"What?"
it's foreshadowing
I was like,
for
"They're
later
gonna
in the
make
movie.
these stupid cars fly," and then they did it. I was so mad.
It was foreshadowing to them jumping
and
through
then
those
freaking
buildings.
Paul Walker goes, "Cars don't fly." I was so mad. I was like, "That's such a dumb line."
I loved it. I
hate these.
I love
movies.
how ridiculous these movies are, man. Like, this is what I come... When the Fast and Furious movie's coming out, this is what I come to the theater for. I come
Yeah,
for that
and
level of absurdity that I can't find anywhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
I guess. And like, okay,
There's nothing like Fast and Furious.
but sometimes I think they take themselves too seriously.
I think Vin Diesel might take it too seriously.
Yes, and I wish they would just acknowledge sometimes that these movies are meant to just be like full throttle ridiculous entertainment. What I'm reminded of is, did you remember Baywatch?
Yes.
Remember how Baywatch from the beginning was like, the concept of lifeguards fighting crime is stupid. Let's just be fun and silly with
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they fully acknowledged how ridiculous this concept is,
Listen,
and they're
That's
going to
why
be
I like
like,
it.
we're
The-
going to be silly. Yes, that's why I like
The
that movie
writer
too.
of the Fast and Furious movies, Chris Morgan, shout out to him. He has been to ArcLight a couple of times from what I've heard.
Oh, nice.
But he recently said that there's a chance that they go to space. Chris Morgan is clearly not taking these seriously. He is having fun.
No, I
So-
know.
That's
but
my
I
thing.
feel
Is like,
the
look,
tone
just
from the
let
movie.
it
I don't.
be that.
I don't get. It's like what Dallas said earlier. They're like, let's fly a car off a building, and now let's shift really quickly and have an emotional moment. No, figure it out.
No.
Pick one.
But here's the thing, though. But at the same time,
family.
I don't want to just watch a straight up action movie. I'm not that person.
Yeah, but it's not.
I want the characters to have drama. I want them to have issues, and I want them to have emotional moments. That's why I like John Wick 1, but I also didn't care because I didn't care
It
about
was emotional.
Just the thing is,
the
John, it's the
beginning,
opposite for me.
But everything else, I was like, whatever. He's just fighting people.
For me, it's the opposite because John Wick started. They established the emotion first.
Yeah.
They established.
And it was like, now I care. And now you can do whatever you want with this
that's the-
ridiculousness.
Here's the thing.
Same.
Here's the thing. I was
Same.
like, I get your motivation, but as I was watching the movie, I was like, I'm starting to not care because literally
you're
all I'm
just
doing
fighting.
is watching you fight.
Yeah.
I need.
So
moments
you
in
wanted
between.
more emotion.
You want more
interspersed.
Which is
Right.
why I
Throughout.
liked the third movie the best because not only is he fighting people, but we're getting internal conflict consistently throughout the movie.
Yeah.
You're not just beating up your problem with your fist. You actually have a problem inside that you have to search deep inside to figure out what you want to do.
I guess, but they had to do that for the third one because
They didn't
it
have to.
started with hitting the ground running. So and they
But
are
the thing
known
is
They
for
didn't have to.
tugging
They
at your
didn't have to.
heartstrings.
It's a John Wick movie. You don't have to. Nobody was going into that movie expecting John Wick to be like, I'm having an emotional internal
They wanted to see him kill people with a
crisis.
pencil.
because they had established it already.
Like the third movie gave him an existential crisis. The first two movies don't. Like you
Cool.
left the game. Do you feel bad about any of this? No, you don't. Okay, cool. We're just gonna keep going. Like
he doesn't. He's crazy at this point. He's just gone mad.
But
But, that's
he-
not the
but
point.
he
Let's
cares
move away
when
from
you get
John
to
Wick.
the
Is, let's move. Let's go back to Fast.
You know,
and
let's
Furious.
actually finish this up. Actually, we should finish this up.
Fine.
been a
We
while.
could sit here and argue for hours.
We could. Anyway, yeah,
Okay.
that was our talking about the Fast and Furious franchise as a whole.
Yep.
Hobbs and Shaw is coming out, and I think we're all really excited about that one, no matter how we feel about the rest of the franchise.
I wouldn't put really excited, but I would say intrigued.
Every time I watch that trailer, I get hyped as hell, and I can't explain why.
fair.
Because you like Fast and Furious.
It's a hype trailer. Like.
It's a hype trailer, bro.
Really? You know
The
what? I haven't seen it in
adrenaline, bruh.
enough time.
Also, before we go, I just want to say hashtag justice for Han. Because
Yes!
I'm still mad that Jason Statham is in the quote unquote family now. Because
And he's not in the family.
I don't know, like the last scene in 8
We
kind of
haven't-
felt like.
We haven't called him family.
Yes, the thing is, like, if he's not in the family, he's invited to the cookout.
Yeah,
And I don't want him invited to the cookout. He murdered Han.
Okay, wait. On the topic of Han is the reason why no love interest will ever be as good for Gal Gadot because
That's why they had to kill her off.
Yeah, they did. Because him and Gal Gadot are so great together that I can't. Even Chris Pine, I was like, you guys are great together, but you'll always be second to Han.
You're not Han.
No,
not Han.
yeah.
But that is one
I will
thing.
be willing to watch the 5th movie to watch that romance because also I
The
like
fifth
Han.
and sixth movie, they're fantastic. Too.
I'm going to completely embrace the ridiculousness of these movies if they bring Han back somehow.
Oh my
Because
God.
honestly, like, you already killed someone and brought him back.
Family.
Do it again. I'll take a twin brother that Han never knew he had. Like, I don't care. Just bring
Yeah.
the actor, bring
It
Soon
just
Kang
wouldn't be as fun
back
because
into
his
the
name
movies.
would no longer be Han Solo.
So,
I'm mad at all of you.
yeah, I
I'm
don't.
so angry right now.
So, guys, you guys can find us on Spotify
these
and Apple
movies.
Podcasts as well as YouTube.
Yeah. Here's the
Yes.
thing, though. Honestly, if
Goodness,
they were
Gaby.
like, Gabby, be in these movies, I'd be like, fuck
She'd be
yeah.
like, yeah.
You're about
She
to
would
make
say yes
me hella
immediately.
money. Let's go.
She'd say yes because it would make her money and she'd
Oh,
have a
yeah.
lot of fun on set. Let's
yeah,
be
that
honest.
too. I'd be like, family, let's go to Toretto's.
She's their cousin.
Family.
Yeah. I'd be like, family. They
their-
could play during every interview me hating on Fast and the Furious, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm still here, bitch.
She would pull a Natalie Portman coming back to Thor 4.
So quick.
Anyway,
Again, shout out to Crown Digital, our friends Brandon and Io for putting us on the things that you're listening on. Unless you're listening on YouTube, in which case, shout out to them anyway.
you can find us on Twitter at y'all_.
There it is.
Different.
Y'all_different. Yes, I checked. Y'all different is still taken.
Creative differences is still taken.
Creative difference is actually too long. I found out.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
Yes.
that's what it was.
Y'all
what it
different
was.
is taken.
You guys
Without the
can
underscore.
also you guys can also look us up on Facebook and on Tumblr at Creative Differences. Most likely you'll just be able to find it.
You'll find it.
Just
Yeah.
look for our logo.
For Tumblr's Creative Differences podcast, if you want to get specific, you can find me on Twitter at a king named Simba.
You can find me, Gabby, on Instagram at Stegosoria.
You
Sorry.
can
Sorry. Continue.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dreamy Films. Dreamy spelled DREEMI. Thank you guys for joining in.
It's been different.
It's been family.